Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Vegan Deterioration Talk. Tonight, we're going to eat some lovely pork steak and eggs, some of the most bioavailable, nutrient dense foods that you can possibly put in your body. And we're going to talk about the vegan diet again tonight, second night in a row. Well, I guess you could say there was second video in a row. And we're going to be talking about Liam Hemsworth and his vegan diet and how it's causing him to be just a little bit sick, and how the People article that wrote the segment on him is saying that he's rethinking his vegan diet. So we're going to see what they have to say, and we're going to dig into some of this yummy food. I just got done doing about 20 minutes of dumbbell work right here in the living room, and I figured what better way to feed my body than some nutrient dense pork and eggs. And we can look at this beautiful article and watch some vegan YouTube. Okay. Let's see what other people are saying about Liam Hemsworth and his diet. So I am going to screen share with you guys. Oh yes, here we go. Let's
Liam Hemsworth, Thor's brother, is what I normally call him, which I guess is kind of offensive. Apparently, he did also audition for the role of Thor, which, in the interview with Men's Health, he's very sweet about his brother and how close they are, and he says he loves talking about Chris and all of that, so it's very cute, but that's got to be a little bit weird. I mean, I guess it's not surprising because Chris is kind of just bigger looking, I guess. I don't know if he's actually bigger, but like it makes sense that they would cast him over Liam for the role. I mean, they look almost exactly the same. Point is, he did an interview for Men's Health, and part of that interview, he talks about having surgery early last year to remove a kidney stone, and that he's no longer vegan because of this. It was one of the most painful weeks of my life. I was doing press for Isn't It Romantic, but I had to go to the hospital and get surgery. Yeah, I've never had a kidney stone, but apparently they are just the worst thing ever. I remember reading from someone who got one after they were pregnant, and they said that the pain was just horrible. It was worse than giving birth. But once you get one kidney stone, you have a 50% chance of getting another one if you continue eating the way you were eating. That is true, partially true. I'll get into that in a minute, I guess. That last part, if you continue eating the way you were eating, it's not quite true. But point is, yeah, 50% according to this article from Harvard Health.
Why is she saying that? Why did she reference that and bring that up twice and kind of like stutter over it and come back to it? The reason she said that is because she doesn't want people to know that a vegan diet is extremely high in phytates, salicylates, phytoestrogens, oxalates. These are types of things that create these types of reactions in the body in general. And you end up building up these kidney stone types from things that you eat. A poor diet in general will do that. And that is one of the main reasons why somebody would actually get kidney stones. And we're going to get into that here in a second. I just want to let her talk a little bit more, trying to enjoy my pork steak and bioavailable nutrient dense eggs that are almost one of the number one recommended things, if not the recommended number one thing to eat for bioavailable nutrients, especially with this COVID-19 situation going on. I mean, that came from the big people upstairs, the ones that are way up the chain that are dictating what we should and shouldn't be doing during this virus outbreak. So if it's coming from them, since everybody believes so much about the virus stuff, they may as well believe that about the eggs too, right? So I've got my plate of eggs and my pork steak here, which, per ounce has the most available form of potassium that you could possibly get from food right here. Let's continue.
35 to 50%, the 5-year recurrence rate without any treatment, and up to 22% will have 3 or more stones in their lifetime. They're actually working on a tool that incorporates 13 different risk factors to give a more individualized rate, anywhere from 0.9% to 94% chance. My particular kidney stone was a calcium oxalate kidney stone. This is the most common type of kidney stone. It forms from having too much oxalate in your diet. Oxalates are really high in a lot of vegetables, specifically spinach, almonds, beetroot, potatoes. Every morning I was having 5 handfuls of spinach and then almond milk, almond butter, and also some vegan protein in a smoothie. So the obvious thing here, 5 handfuls of spinach is a lot of spinach, particularly for his hands. I would imagine for like normal man hands, like I have weird tiny baby hands, but I think even for me, 5 handfuls would be a lot of spinach to put in one smoothie. Whenever I make green smoothies, I do use spinach because it's really the only green that I've found that blends, perfectly smoothly, so that you don't get any sort of texture or grit or anything. And also it doesn't leave like a real grassy ass taste like other greens do, like kale. Ugh.
Oh, wait a second. But doesn't Dr. Berg also recommend 7 to 10 cups of vegetables per day? And what do most of them predominantly come from? Greens, which are extremely high in oxalate count. So even vegan doctors can have stuff wrong.
But even still, I put in maybe like 1 handful, like my size handful, 1.5 handfuls. I actually measured out 5 large handfuls, large, for me, right, of frozen spinach. Now this is fresh spinach that I froze, not the super not the pre-cooked stuff that's frozen, right? I buy it fresh and then I freeze it because otherwise it's gonna go bad. But I measured that out and I got 62 grams total. Now spinach is one of the highest oxalate foods, like by far. 100 grams
Somebody should
of spinach has
somebody should take this chart right here and save it. Look at this. Spinach is one of the number one ones. Let's see what we got here. Radishes have a lot. I mean half, but the cassava root. How many of you eat those vegan or the keto friendly bars and stuff like that have the cassava root in there? Look how much oxalate count is in there. It's higher than the spinach is. But a lot of you think because it says keto friendly that it's completely healthy. Well, macro wise it might be healthy, but there's a lot of anti-nutrients in some of that food as well. Right here. Cassava root is one of the things, and even if it's not raw, even if it's been highly processed and all this other stuff, 1260 is a lot. I mean, it is a lot. Let's look and see what else we got on here that can be a trigger or a red flag. Okay, so fruits. I think something is missing on here. Over in this fruit section, there should be something on the top, and I can't quite pinpoint what it is. Should be right at number 1. Is it avocado? I don't know if it's avocado or... I'm not exactly... Something's missing here, because I've seen this chart before, and not this particular chart, but it's one that has much more than these. Look at rhubarb, 800... lime peel, when we're just, what is it, per ounce or per 100 grams? So you'd have to have 100 grams of peel. I don't know exactly what that equates to, but I mean, guys, this is a lot. Parsley, a lot of you chop up parsley and stuff and put it in your food. Just regular lettuce. I mean, just regular ass lettuce. That's a lot for regular no nutrient dense lettuce right there. So it looks like hand over fist, spinach is like one of the worst things that we could possibly be eating if we're trying to fight some kind of histamine reaction, some kind of kidney issue or something like that. And eating a lot of these greens that are high in this oxalate count can be pretty rough. And that's one of the things that Dr. Berg especially promotes the most. I guess he just fails to realize all the anti-nutrients that are in the vegetables that he's been pushing for years and years and years, but people will still continue to follow like sheep. And to realize that 7 to 10 cups of vegetables per day is it's absolutely absurd. It's nothing that we need to be eating that much in vegetable wise, 7 to 10 cups per day.
970 milligrams, so 62 grams would be about 601 milligrams. For comparison, kale has 20 milligrams per 100 grams. Almond is fairly high too, at least when compared to other nuts.
So this is another thing that we're always eating in the keto space. Handfuls of almonds, not realizing how much those macros and those calories and stuff actually catch up to you. Not only that, the amount per 100 grams is 469. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. One of the highest foods, nut-wise, with oxalate count that's high. I mean, that's high. Black pepper, super high. For, cacao powder, 623. Black pepper, 419. I mean, per 100, that's a lot. Broccoli, it's low, but I mean, it's got a decent count to it. Asparagus, it's low. Cauliflower is right there with broccoli. And these are supposed to be super health-friendly vegetables. But some of them, if you can take the highest, say spinach, which is, we'll just call it for argument's sake, 900 count or 900, whatever this is. I can't see what's under here, how they have it measured in 900 parts per 100 grams of oxalate count in spinach. And then you take and you divide it into quarters. 25% of what the highest is still seems to be, it's not high, but it's probably something that I wouldn't want to be eating all the time. So these charts are super informative, powerful. I mean, this just goes to show you where the charts of vegetables, fruits, nuts that have anti-nutrients, where it's all at. It's right here.
1 ounce of roasted almonds.
The thing is, this is coming from a vegan.
Almonds has about 130 milligrams versus roasted pistachios, which have only 14 milligrams, so a lot lower. They're one of, if not the lowest, when it comes to nuts. The almond milk would have some too, assuming that it's homemade and actually has a lot of almonds. If you're buying just your typical commercial, calcium fortified almond milk, then it's primarily.
And do you know what almond milk is? Almond milk is basically just blended up nuts, put in water. That's it. There's nothing special to it.
Water. There's not a whole lot of almonds in there, so probably wouldn't provide a whole lot of oxalate. Also, again, if it's calcium fortified, that would help since calcium binds to oxalate. He says vegan protein. He doesn't.
But if you're not getting calcium from the natural food that it comes from, even though she's talking about it being calcium fortified and binded, it's not a natural bioavailable form of calcium. So it's not going to be as sufficient as you would be getting it from natural foods.
Say what kind. If it's soy protein has a lot. Regardless, the spinach alone provides a crap ton of oxalate. It's pretty ridiculous. So does this mean that anyone who eats Liam's smoothie on a daily basis or whatever is guaranteed to develop kidney stones? Also, what about vegans? Should we be worried about our diets and our level of risk, given that a lot of the foods that we eat are moderate to high in oxalate content? Based on the evidence, as a total non-expert, I would say no and possibly no. For one, again, there are many risk factors for developing stones, including genetic predisposition. Dehydration is a huge factor. All experts agree. I couldn't find one that didn't, you need to drink enough, particularly if you have had any stones in the past. And obviously it can be really hard because we don't really feel super thirsty until we're already dehydrated. So a lot of people recommend that every time you pee, you should drink more water. Calcium as well. Low calcium is associated with high risk for stones, which makes sense.
Let's pause there for a second. She says every time you pee, you should drink more water. When you urinate, not only are you urinating, byproduct, bile and stuff out, or not bile, but not only are you urinating waste out of your body, you're taking electrolytes and stuff with it. That's why a lot of vegans, especially vegans, and there's some carnivores that will piss in a bottle and re-drink their piss because it's got electrolytes and stuff that they've wasted and they're trying to rehydrate with those electrolytes. So not only should you just drink water if you're going to try to rehydrate after you urinate, you need to actually take in some potassium and some sodium with it if you can, especially sodium.
sense, again, because calcium does bind to oxalate. So you would presumably absorb a lot less.
And if you're naturally not thirsty when you're done urinating, don't force yourself to drink water just because you urinated. I mean, that was poor advice to begin with. But if you are going to do that, try to get some sodium in with that water, maybe a little potassium if you've got some new salt or something like that, some no salt. But sodium is more critical, I would think, in that aspect, because your body has a way of trying to hold on to potassium and not so much sodium. So just because you urinate doesn't mean that you should go and drink water immediately unless you're actually intuitively doing it. It's not just because you urinated.
Oxalate in a spinach smoothie, let's say, if you consumed something with calcium in it, so like a calcium fortified soy milk or almond milk. A diet high in animal protein and sodium has also been linked to an increased risk. So what about oxalate? It is true that higher urinary oxalate levels have been associated with stone formation.
She's trying to cookie cutter, beat around the bush, eat around the tush kind of thing here, instead of actually just diving in and doing it. Associated, believed to, but then when you talk about isolate or oxalates, they say it is a direct correlation. I know they say it doesn't equal causation, but they're more strong on the oxalate count being in the foods that they're eating than so much beating around the bush with the animal products. That's a bunch of crap. You know, I can see animal products, people saying it causes this and that and hormone, dysfunction in your regulation because of what you're getting in the meat. But when you try to justify anti-nutrients being in vegetables being one of the main causes of kidney stone and poor diet in general, and then you have to throw animal products in there, and the paragraph that was written is not so sure of it as it is, it's just a cop-out. It's a very poor way to represent what you're trying to. You got to include this too to make it legit kind of thing, and that's not what it is. Oxalates, anti-nutrients, things that are in the anti-portion of the vegetables and fruits is what causes these types of things mainly. And nobody's ready to just come straight out and say that yet because people have an agenda.
Which obviously makes sense, but it's not quite that simple. The American Urological Association does not recommend overly restrictive low oxalate diets for stone formers, given that, again, non-dietary factors play a role, but also because some foods often considered high in oxalate may have other health benefits. For example, individuals in large cohort studies who consume diets more consistent with the DASH diet, not restricted in oxalate, were found to have a significantly reduced risk of developing kidney stones. And according to this cross-sectional that the AUA references, oxalate consumption had very little impact on urinary oxalate levels. For many stone formers, restricting dietary oxalate may be a relatively ineffective intervention to reduce urinary oxalate excretion. The Polycystic Kidney Disease Foundation agrees, saying that protein, calcium, and water play an equal, if not bigger, role than oxalate intake. No studies have been done looking at vegans specifically, but several cohorts exist that have looked at vegetarians and found a link between vegetarian diets and a decreased risk, which makes sense, right? I mean, I think typical vegetarian is saying that
Let's see. This is where it gets a bit tricky to interpret, as there are numerous opinions. The formation of kidney stones containing oxalate is an area of controversy in clinical nutrition with respect to dietary restriction of oxalate. About 80% of kidney stones formed by adults in the U.S. are calcium oxalate stones. It is not clear from the research, however, that restriction of dietary oxalate helps prevent formation of calcium oxalate stones in individuals who have previously formed such stones. Well, if you're going to write a paragraph like that, then why even talk about it unless you're clear about what you're talking about? I mean, it clearly says here that based on what has been studied, it's not clear that any of this shit is right. So, I mean, if you know that it is calcium oxalate stones, and oxalates being in vegetables and fruits is a is a strong possible causal of why this is forming. But you look at the breakdown of what's in animal products, and you don't see this type of ingredient there or compound that could lead into this, then how is your causation or your possibility of it being animal products as well anywhere near that of the anti-nutrients that are in vegetables? It's just idiotic to listen to somebody say that or see an article published like this that says, well, it's obvious that there's an oxalate count base in fruits and vegetables, but you don't find that in animal meat. But we're going to go ahead and throw animal meat in the mix and say that it's a possibility, and even possible stronger possibility, based on protein and water consumption. Get the fuck out of here, man. Seriously. This is those cherry-picked studies and articles and stuff that I talk to you guys about that are just freaking ridiculous. They red flag themselves without even... It just doesn't make any sense. Since intake of dietary oxalate accounts for only 10 to 15% of oxalate that is found in urine of individuals who form calcium oxalate stones, many researchers believe that the dietary restriction cannot significantly reduce the risk of stone formation. That's horseshit. If you reduce the amount of anti-nutrients that you take in, you're going to reduce, or you're going to set yourself up for better success from having to deal with shit like kidney stones. So if you're eating foods that are extremely high in, almonds, spinach, things like this that are different types of greens that are high in histamine and stuff like that, like avocado, if you reduce the amount of these products that you eat, then obviously the reaction of you having calcium formation or calcium oxalate stone formation or high histamine count or something like that is going to be less, because you're intaking the very thing that compounds that creates these problems. There's going to be some vegan that comes along. I'm not even looking at the comment section yet, so it could be already there. I don't even know. I'm looking directly at the video so I can stay focused. There's going to be some vegan that comes along and wants the yada yada, this and that. Blow it out your pie hole, sucker. Yeah, I'm not one drinking the Kool-Aid. That's you. I'm not the one that has the problem with the vegan diet. I tried it. I did it. It didn't work. I felt like shit. I move on from it.
Protein, calcium, and water play an equal, if not bigger, role than oxalate intake. No studies have been done looking at vegans specifically, but several cohorts exist that have...
Let's see here. University, Italy, Milan, Verona. A common medical condition influenced by multiple environmental factors, including diet. Since nutritional habits play a relevant role. So we just read one article that said dietary intake had little to do with the stone formation, right? And then you read here that says, since nutritional habits play a relevant role in the genesis and reoccurrence of kidney stones disease, dietary manipulation has become a fundamental tool for medical management of nephrolithias. Oh, wait a second. Let's go back. Let's go back. Since the intake of dietary oxalate accounts for only 10 to 15% of the oxalate that is found in the urine individual with calcium oxalate stones, many researchers believe that dietary restriction cannot significantly reduce the risk of stone formation. So if you're telling me that many researchers believe that dietary restriction cannot significantly reduce the risk of stone formation, but yet this one says that dietary manipulation has become a fundamental tool for the medical management of nephrolithias, and it's supposed to be an article written on
exist that have looked at.
I'm trying to get these damn words to go away. Risk of kidney stones, influence of diet factors, dietary patterns, and vegetarian vegan diets. And then right down here it says dietary manipulation has become a fundamental tool for medical management of nephrolithiasis. So we have two different articles saying one thing. One article saying that it cannot be used as, what was the exact wording that it said? Since the intake of dietary oxalate accounts for only 10 to 15% of the oxalate that is found in urine in individuals who form calcium oxalate stones, many researchers believe that dietary restriction cannot significantly reduce risk. I mean, one article saying one thing. This one's saying that many researchers believe that dietary restriction is not going to reduce the risk of stone formation. Then you look at the other article, and it's saying that it's a direct management tool. Since nutritional habits play a relevant role in genesis and reoccurrence of kidney stones disease, dietary manipulation has become a fundamental tool for the medical management of nephrolithiasis. I mean, this clearly says, in this one that she's referencing, that she's putting emphasis in that dietary management does reduce the risk of this, but the other one's saying that dietary management or restriction doesn't seem to play a role in the oxalate count that's in urine. It seems like it's very it's contradicting to me to show one and then turn around and put this up and then put emphasis in this. It doesn't make any sense.
And found a link between vegetarian diets and
based on the available evidence, a balanced vegetarian diet with dairy products seem to be the most protective diet for kidney stone patients. So, a vegetarian diet with dairy products seem to be the most protective diet for kidney stones. Dairy, calcium, eggs. Vegetarians eat eggs. Lots of nutrients in eggs.
And a decreased risk, which makes sense, right? I mean, I think typical vegetarians are consuming,
maybe because the bulk of their calories are coming from things like cheese, eggs, milk, because these are things bioavailable nutrients, and they use vegan foods, rabbit food as a filler product.
More fruits and vegetables, and they're also consuming dairy, right? So they're getting the benefits from that added produce as fruits and vegetables, while also potentially
potassium, magnesium, and citrate seem to be protective. And these are all things that you find in a vegetarian diet, especially in dairy type products.
Mitigating the downsides.
Now, let's see what nutrients. I can't do that. I'll have to stay on this here. Let's stay here.
Extra oxalate with that calcium, right? With that dairy. So presumably a vegan diet that's low in calcium, particularly.
On the contrary, a vegan diet which is rich in oxalate from plants is poor in calcium because dairy products are not allowed, should be less protective, and at least in theory might favor calcium oxalate lithogenesis.
Clearly, if it's also high in the really high oxalate food.
According to the vegetarian diet, calcium intake seems to be comparable to controls, whereas in vegan diet, the dietary consumption of calcium is lower. Currently, no studies are available that directly compare the effect of a vegan and vegetarian diets on incident kidney stones. A possible beneficial effect of vegetarianism was first suggested by Robertson, predicting a 40 to 60% reduction in kidney stone prevalence compared with the general population matched for age, sex, and social class. Let's see, if we start taking away more fruits and vegetables and we start going more bioavailable animal product with less phytates, anti-nutrients, salicylates, oxalates, we start getting to a point where we can actually start using the food in its bioavailable form and not digesting it out so much, having so much byproduct, having less of a reaction to anti-nutrients. So if you're telling me that by this Dr. Robertson, I would assume it's Dr. Robertson, if not Scientist Robertson, the more you get into an animal-based, nutrient-dense diet, and I'm just saying that is just my way of thinking, predicting a 40 to 60% reduction of kidney stone prevalence compared with the general population. So if I restrict the amount of vegan food that I eat and I add dairy type products in, I'm going to reduce the chance of getting kidney stones by 40 to 60%.
Foods like spinach and sweet potato would increase the risk of stones to some degree. Not to mention being bad for other reasons, right? Like calcium's important, please, like meet the RDA for calcium. So did Liam's smoothie cause his kidney stone, as he suggests? I mean, he basically says it, right? I mean, he says that it forms from having too much oxalate in your diet, and then goes on to describe his high oxalate smoothie, right? There's no way to know. It's not even clear that oxalate intake plays that big of a role. It's certainly wrong to say stones are caused by too much oxalate in the diet. That's it.
Let's go back and look. A lot of this stuff passes too fast, and I find things that I don't agree with that I want to talk about.
Particularly if it's also high in the really high oxalate foods like spinach and sweet potato, would increase the risk of stones to some degree. Not to mention being bad for other reasons, right? Like calcium's important, please, like meet the RDA for calcium. So did Liam's smoothie cause his kidney stone, as he suggests? I mean, he basically says it, right? I mean, he says that it forms from having too much oxalate in your diet, and then goes on to describe his high oxalate smoothie, right? There's no way to know. It's not even clear that oxalate intake plays that big of a role. It's certainly wrong to say stones are caused by too much.
If there's no other reason, there usually are other reasons for that stone information. Then it might be time to try to reduce oxalate intake.
Much oxalate in the diet. That said, I sure as shit would not consume a smoothie like that every day, or even every other day. I mean, for one, it just sounds disgusting. That's such an insane amount of spinach. Oh, it sounds so foul. But also, like, why risk it? Like, just why? There's no reason to consume that much spinach or any other super high oxalate foods when there are so many other fruits and vegetables that offer the same benefits without that much.
Okay, so let's go to, let's stop the screen sharing. Let's go to the actual article that people put out. Chrome tab. Share. So if you guys can see it, there we go. All right, let's go back to it. No, I don't want to. I'm done with her. Here's the article that people put out on him. Liam Hemsworth needed surgery that forced him to completely rethink his vegan diet. The actor had a difficult 2019, from needing surgery to the end of his marriage to Miley Cyrus. That's probably a good thing. April 13th, 2020 at 9 a.m. This is when they wrote it. The year 2020 is not going to be the way most people had planned. In the Liam Hemsworth case, he's still recovering from a difficult 2019 that included surgery for the painful kidney stone and a divorce to Miley Cyrus. The experience led him to re-examine several parts of his life, and he started with his vegan diet. I was vegan for almost 4 years, and in February last year, I was feeling lethargic. Then I got a kidney stone. It was one of the most painful weeks of my life. I was doing press for Isn't It Romantic, but then I had to go to the hospital and get surgery. Hemsworth 30 told Men's Health for their May cover. The actor said it's all good now, but that he had to lower his vegetable intake. Once you get one stone, you have a 50% chance of getting another stone. If you have a 50% chance of getting another one if you continue eating the way you were eating. My particular kidney stone was calcium oxalate kidney stone. It forms from having too much oxalate in the diet. Oxalates are really high in a lot of vegetables, specifically spinach, almonds, beetroot, potatoes. Every morning I was having 5 handfuls of spinach and then almond milk and almond butter, and also some vegan protein in a smoothie. and that was what I considered super healthy. So I had to completely rethink what I was putting in my body. And if you took anything from this article, this is this man's experience. Now, vegans will come forward and they will tell you that an anecdotal experience doesn't matter. They're going to tell you that you shouldn't use your personal experience to influence other people. It wasn't a diet. You did something wrong. You didn't eat enough calories. You didn't drink gallons of water every single day. You ate too much fat. You ate too many bananas. You ate too much avocado. You ate so much of the papaya it was falling out your ears. 1,000 different reasons why. You know what I do? I make a damn steak and a bunch of eggs, and I salt the shit out of it, and I drink some water. Or I grab my White Claw if I'm feeling that side of my vegan side coming out. And I'm happy. I don't got to count calories. I don't have to worry about oxalates. I don't have to worry about kidney stones. I don't have to worry about phytoestrogens. I don't have to worry about any of that shit. I just eat nutrient-dense food. That's what I do. You don't hear anybody from the carnivore community saying stuff like that. You don't hear anybody complaining about having enough energy and stuff after they've done it for a while and they've got through the adaptation phase. You don't hear them 5 years later say, oh my God, I've got to go to a vegan diet because carnivore ruined my life. Yeah, you get some people that every once in a while somebody will do it for 6 months or a year and they claim that it's the worst thing in the world. Or you'll see some celebrity or some big YouTube star say, I tried keto for a week and I failed. It's just the worst diet ever. Those guys don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They're typically the ones that are just doing it for views and monetization, stuff like that. The people that are serious put time into it. They research it. They know what's going on. You think Liam didn't have some professional nutritionist look over what he was doing? All these damn stars that are in these magazines and these movies, on these weekly shows and stuff like that, especially somebody like him that's in the limelight all the time, they've got people that are watching their nutrition, and obviously somebody didn't know what the hell they were doing. I mean, the facts are the facts, people. You can see so much skipping around in these articles and stuff, and the contradiction back and forth whenever a lot of these vegans use exactly what they're using for their information when they try to support or defend their cause. A lot of it's very poor. It's very, very strong. And one article will say something and then somebody else will try to support it, but then you look at the wording that's put in the article. Like, what was the study that Vegan Gains, that idiot, always brought up all the time, the Farmington study or something like that. But when you get all the way to the end of the Farmington study, in the conclusion area, it says that this is just one doctor's or this is one specific person's point of view based on the evidence that's been given, that it's not even proven fact. But yet that Farmington study keeps getting brought up over and over again. But who thinks to read all the way to the end of the entire study to read what's in it? Me? Because I want to know what's being put in front of me. I want to know if somebody's full of shit or not. You know how many times I went on his channel and brought that up while he was live? Or just in his comment section that said, you keep referencing this Farmington study, but you don't ever publish or post what's on the bottom of that study, when it clearly says that this has not been 100% proven. It's based on one person's opinion or views on the information that's been given. But that doesn't ever get pronounced. It never does. Because they don't want you to know that stuff. They don't want you to know that something is a probable, it's not a definite. And at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, it's ideology. It is my way or the highway, or I'm going to do whatever it takes to get my message across. If that means being hostile, being super kind, bribing somebody, breaking into farmers, like the vegans that broke onto that farmer's rabbit farm and stole all those rabbits. And then was it a farmer or something like that where they were shooting at them and it clipped the one girl in the face and cut her face open. One of the rounds or something like that, one of the shotgun rounds actually, it was either the glass or the shotgun round or something, clipped her face and cut her open, and she's bleeding down her face. And they had a picture of the rabbit and the girl on the cover of the magazine or the article that was written. And it's like, well, you're a dumbass. You don't break onto somebody's property and try to do something like that and then claim that you have the right to do it. It's not your property. You're just a dumbass. It is what it is at the end of the day. I wish they would have shot your ass. You come on my property and do something like that, they're going to be held to pay. So it's kind of one of those things where you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I mean, what are you going to do? People, when you take it to the extent of being a vegan activist to that point, it's too far. It's way too far. You can do it peacefully, get your message across, and move on about your day. So The diet in general, we see a lot of celebrities that try it and they don't look good. They don't look good at all after years of doing it. And then there's some people that do it and they're fine. Those are the people that maybe they figured it out. Maybe their body is receptive to it, and maybe that's okay because we all are different. We all can do things differently. But the one thing that you'll always hear people cover up is you're not eating enough calories. That's why you're failing, or you're not doing it correctly, and there's some kind of loophole or something somewhere that's what it always comes down to. This is sad. I'm sorry that he had to go through that. But it is what it is. The man himself came out and said, this is what I've been doing. I've been eating foods that are super high in oxalate, and I need to back off doing that and reduce the amount of vegetables that are going in my body, because I know fibers, oxalates, phytoestrogens, nutrients, are anti-nutrients, salicylates, oxalates. These are things that can cause a number of problems. They can mess with your eyes. They can promote erectile dysfunction. There's a number of things that they can do. If you just look at what oxalates are under images, let's look real quick. Right here. See these little crystals? They're like crystal-like substances. Some of them are worse. Some of them are like almost spiked, depending on what form of oxalate it is. See, this is also another form of what an oxalate would look like under a microscope. Oxalate, an unrecognized cause of chronic pain and disease. A lot of people that get like knee issues, inflammation and stuff in their knees and their joints and stuff like that, they go on a low oxalate diet, and then all of a sudden a lot of that pain and inflammation and stuff goes away. They have, like here, there's books out on it, Living Low Oxalate, When Oxalate-Rich Foods Destroy Your Health. High oxalate foods, dark leafy greens, root vegetables, other vegetables, fruits, dried fruit, nuts, seeds, grains, beverages, soy, legumes, cocoa powder, stevia. These are all foods that have super high amounts of oxalate in it. Some of them more than others, but there are things that we don't really need in our body. Calcium oxalate stones. Let's go look and see now. Symptoms of kidney stones. A kidney stone may cause symptoms until it moves around within your kidney and pass into your ureter, the tube connecting the kidney and bladder. At that point, you may experience these signs: severe pain in the side and back, below the ribs, pain that radiates to the lower abdomen and growing, pain that comes in waves and fluctuates in intensity, pain on urination, pink, red, or brown urine, cloudy or foul-smelling urine, nausea, vomiting, persistent need to urinate, urinating more often than usual, Fever and chills if an infection is present, urinating small amounts. Causes. Kidney stones often have no definite single cause, although several factors may increase. Kidney stones from your urine contain more crystal-forming substances. The reason I'm showing you guys this is I want to show you that there's more than one source of information for it saying oxalates or proteins or stuff. You can go find different sources of information like this to see what they say, such as calcium oxalate and uric acid. Then the fluid in your urine can dilute. At the same time, your urine may lack substances to prevent crystals from sticking together and creating an ideal environment for kidney stones. Knowing the type of kidney stone helps determine the cause and may give clues on how to reduce the risk from getting kidney stones. If possible, try to save your kidney stone if you pass one so that you can bring it to the doctor for analysis. Calcium stones. Most kidney stones are calcium stones. Usually they form calcium oxalate. Oxalate is naturally occurring substance found in food and is also made daily by your liver. Some fruits and vegetables, as well as nuts and chocolate, have high oxalate content. Dietary factors, high doses of vitamin D, intestinal bypass surgery, or several metabolic disorders can increase the concentration of calcium or oxalate in the urine. Calcium stones may also occur in the form of calcium phosphate. This type of stone is more common in metabolic conditions such as renal tubular acidosis. It may also be associated with certain migraine headaches or taking certain seizure medications such as Topamax. So we know this is the main section right here that we want to focus on. Dietary factors, high doses of vitamin D, intestinal bypass surgery, or several metabolic disorders can increase the concentration of calcium or oxalate in urine. So if this pertains to you, this is very important. Calcium stones may also occur in the form of calcium phosphate. This type of stone is more common in metabolic conditions such as renal tubular acidosis. It may also be associated with certain migraine headaches. So, metabolic conditions in general can cause this. So just not oxalate in vegetables. So there's more than one reason why you would get this type of calcium oxalate stone. Oxalate is a natural occurring substance found in food and is also made daily by your liver. So you make oxalate as well as you get it from your food. But my concern is when somebody like Liam comes forward and says, this is the type of food that I've been eating every day that's super, super high in oxalate, and I've been doing everything else correctly. This is the only thing that I can equate this to. Probably right. Unfortunately, it is what it is. And people aren't going to agree with that. I get it. But more than likely, that's exactly what it was, exactly what he said. 5 cups of spinach and all this other stuff that he said he dumped into the shake. Kind of ridiculous. I agree with her. I agree with the vegan lady we were watching. You don't need that much of any type of vegetable in one day. Let's look at another source. Kidney stones and diet. Dietary choices can lead to the stone formation. There are several foods that contain high concentration of calcium oxalate to prevent stone formation, and for those individuals with a history of kidney stones, the following foods should be consumed in moderation: spinach, rhubarb, beets, wheat bran flakes, peanuts, nuts, nut butters and spreads, potato chips, French fries. In addition, there are a long list of food items that contain uric acid and may help promote stone formation: spinach, asparagus, cauliflower, mushrooms, dried beans, dairy products, baked goods, fried foods, organ meats, shellfish, and shrimp. Notice that these are all the way in the bottom of the list. Calcium stones. The most common type of kidney stone contains calcium. Most stones contain mainly calcium oxalate crystals. There we go again. Symptoms: intense pain that can radiate, chills, fever, changes in urination, nausea, vomiting, painful urination. Cloudy urine. Urine that appears to be pink or red in color, blood in the urine. I don't need to keep bringing this up anymore. I mean, we keep seeing the same thing over and over again. High oxalate count in foods, when that's basically the only thing that you have to rely on, you can almost guarantee that that's what it is. I'm going to back out of all this. So there's Liam's diet. I'm going to look at the comments here first. Nice to see Rich. I'm listening while charting. Pork loin. No, that was pork steaks. Yes, I've been eating grass-fed beef and getting all kinds of healthy fat in. Cassava root is a staple in my mother's family's diet, but she never had gout or kidney stones. Maybe it's the way Caribbean people cook. You have to soak and then cook cassava. People are having barbecue like crazy. She has nice. What's up, Shell? The meat section at Walmart was devastated for weeks. Yeah, it was. There was like 3 or 4 weeks where there was people were buying the meat out, the chicken out, the beef out, and there was just like there were some of the organic, the grass-fed stuff was left because it's really expensive. So I did see a lot of people like ripping through that. Hi, Linda. Hi, Vane. Jeep Dog. Yeah, Dr. Berg is like the biggest keto quack that I've seen online. So yeah, I've messed with a lot of Dr. Berg's recommendations, even on his own group. I went on Berg's group, and for like the first month that it was up, he would do nothing but promote his videos and supplementation and stuff like that. Right at the end of the day, he would barely answer anybody's questions at all. I was doing most of the work, and I was just a regular subscriber there. I was sharing his videos with people and trying to explain things, and that was back when I didn't see what was going on. And then I kind of became hip to the click on all this stuff, and I was like, man, this guy's a quack. There's no way that I would promote anything that he says. Okay, so that's it for tonight. I wanted to inform you on Liam's diet and how he's not vegan anymore, and the kidney stones, and kind of bring up some stuff on what could cause it, and just let you guys know it's not only a vegan diet that can cause it. I mean, you know, you can get it. You've seen it yourself. Digestive issues. If you've had different types of surgeries, maybe it's the way your body reacts, regulates, downregulates, uses, processes certain things out of the body. It could be a number of things. So it's not just the vegan diet. I don't want to make it seem super dogmatic, maybe just a little bit. And, you know, high oxalate foods, this is what could happen. Maybe we can do a video like tomorrow or the next day on high histamine foods and what I would do to avoid certain things. Maybe not. Well, I don't know. Histamine. Have I already? I've talked about histamine foods a lot, but I've never actually really got into it like I want to. I don't think. Just to explain kind of what histamine is and stuff like that. What is the next video? What's the next video that I should do? Should I do another vegan video, or should I do another food video? I don't know. I'm trying to do a little bit more. Dairy has histamine, but it's not like the highest. You can stuff like canned meats, processed meats, avocado, you know, like sardines and oil, stuff like that. Dairy is one of them that are up there, but it's not the highest. But you're right, it is. Dairy is actually substantially high in histamine, but it's not like how a lot of keto people eat avocado every single day, and they're eating sardines and, you know, processed sausages and processed meats and stuff like that that's been ground up, that sits around for a while. It seems like flesh that's been processed, highly processed, that's been sitting around and it's canned, really high in histamine. For some reason, avocado's up there on the list as well. They could cause those seasonal allergy reactions where people get like more rashes on their body and stuff like that, or the allergy time of year where people's allergies get worse. They don't pay attention to the dairy that they're eating, the types of vegetables and stuff that they're eating, the potted meats that they're eating. Dairy is up there. I think some shellfish is. I think it is, but I'm not. Let's go. I'm going to pull it up right now. there's a number of things like shellfish is. So let me pull it over here so you guys can see it. I'm going to screen share. Share screen, Chrome tab, high histamine foods, Google search. So I like this food list here, some of it anyway. This is not the only site that I like, but high histamine level foods, alcohol, pickled or canned foods. That's right, sour foods. Anything that's been fermented that's sitting around is high in histamine. It's been a little while. That's why I said I need to get into it, and I need to brush up on it, and start talking about some of the deficiencies in copper and DAO, these other things that help rid histamine from the body, and the main purposes of histamine being one of the main chemical contributors to stomach acid being produced to help break down food and chemical signaling throughout the body. It's one of the main reasons why we have it. But when you overload histamine, just like Chris Masterjohn, I know some people don't like Chris Masterjohn, but I think he's very brilliant when he talks about this. He seems to be one of the only people that really understand it to the level of what it's understood at right now. Most doctors will tell you consensually across the board that we don't understand histamine like we think we do. We can put out as much information as we possibly can on it, but we still don't understand it like we should. And we just know foods that react to histamine type production, or adding to the histamine production that we already produce in the body, and it creates some conditions that pop up that are not desirable, like making your allergies and stuff worse during the allergic season, the blotches on your body, the shortness of breath and the panting of breathing and stuff, some heart arrhythmia issues and things like that. Alcohol, pickled canned foods, matured cheeses or aged cheeses, smoked meat products, salami. Smoking meat for some reason seems to be a big issue. I think it's because it sits so long, and it can sit there and build up this histamine chemical in it. Shellfish, beans, nuts, chocolates. Low histamine foods, and this is what I was talking about last time when I was on here talking about this, is fresh. That's why I say minimally processed meat. The freshest food that you can possibly get, like fresh cut steaks, butchered chicken, eggs, things like that. Fresh vegetables from the garden or something, with the exception of tomatoes, because tomato does have some histamine to it even naturally. Fresh pastured milk and milk products. So like if you're going to actually go straight to the dairy and get it, like raw milk or something like that, high histamine foods would be alcohol, pickled or canned foods, aged cheeses, smoked meats, shellfish, beans and pulses, nuts, chocolates, vinegar, ready meals, salty snacks, sweets with preservatives and artificial colorings, histamine liberators, citrics, or like citric fruits, cacao and chocolate, nuts, papaya, beans. These are something that you need to be aware of as well. The diamine oxidase, the DAO that I was just talking about, are they call them blockers or they call them processors. There's two different ways that you can name this. And whenever you produce DAO in the body to rid yourself of that excessive histamine, process it out, recycle it, whatever it will be, whatever you will. Alcohol, black tea, energy drinks, green tea, these are blockers for that, and they also have histamine to it. So debatable would be yogurt and egg whites. Depends on the bacteria culture. It is a histamine liberator only when it's in the raw state. Other would be yeast. Even though it contains histamine as such, yeast serves as a catalyst for histamine generation during the manufacture. There's no yeast. There is no yeast in the end product. So where did they get their information from? The NMI portal. Here's all the source right here, American Journal of Clinical Nutrition 2007. If you guys want to find this, I will copy this so you can go back and look for it. So what happens with meat, even if it's minimally processed, is if you let it sit overnight and then you come back the next day and it's sat in the fridge for a day or two, a lot of people think that, that it's safe to eat, and typically it is. But the more you let it sit and it's not fresh, the more it builds up that histamine chemical. And let's look at, while we're here, let me go back. This is probably should be doing this at another time, but we'll just do it right now. The heck with it. So this is some of what I was talking about. Histamine is an organic nitrogenous compound involved in local immune responses, as well as regulating physiological function in the gut and acting as a neurotransmitter for the brain. That's why I was telling you that it's got a key signal to create stomach acid. It also has a purpose of chemical communication travel, spinal cord, uterus. Histamine is involved in the inflammatory response and has a central role as a mediator of itching. This would be another reason why, if there's too much histamine in the body, that itching that you're experiencing, and then looking at your skin and seeing how your breakout is, the blotchiness all over the place, the different types of skin reaction, it turns from itching to, it's almost like something's trying to get out of your body. It feels like sometimes it burns, it itches at a higher rate, and it can make those allergy type reactions to the allergy season 10 times worse. So that's why Master John talks about your bucket. How full is your bucket? If you come into allergy season and you've got a small bucket and it's already 3/4 of the way full, and you're pounding avocados and potted meats and meats that have sat in the refrigerator for many days and aged cheeses, you're going to have some worse allergy reaction, because what's going to end up happening is your bucket is going to overfill. Your body can deal with a certain level of histamine, and that's it. You will have reactions to it outside of that. Worse allergies, trouble breathing, skin complexion issues at times with blemishes and rashes and things of that nature. And eating the freshest food possible and eating a low histamine diet, if you know you're a person that struggles with allergies, is the most critical thing, because if your bucket's not overflowing and you learn how to manage that, it almost may seem like you went through, every allergy season your whole life with reactions to almost no reaction at all. And then you think, wow, my allergies are gone. No, it's because you've learned to manage them. You've learned to eat more of a low histamine diet and a fresher food type diet, to where when that season rolls around and you're really starting to be affected by pollen and things like that, you don't have those types of reactions like you normally would. One of the things that help rid histamine of the body, or rid histamine in the body, DAO. Diamine oxidase. Diamine oxidase, also known as histaminase, is an enzyme involved in the metabolism, oxidation, and inactivation of histamine and other I can't even say that. I always have trouble saying that. Polyamines, such as putrescine and spermidine in animals. The highest level of DAO expression are observed in the digestive tract and the placenta. So one of the reasons why you see a mother, a pregnant mom, she won't have nowhere near the allergy type reactions during the allergy season, because her DAO upregulation is much higher, because she's got a child inside her now. So the placenta is very, very heavy in DAO. She's producing almost twice the amount of DAO that she normally would, and she's able to handle higher histamine type foods, sour, sweeter foods and stuff like that, and not have a reaction, because her body is upregulated that DAO production. So that's another reason why women typically don't have as high a histamine reaction or allergy type reaction whenever they're pregnant. It's a natural response that a pregnant mother goes through. let's look at how it works. Chrome tab. That's not what I want. Okay, Healthline. Okay, I'm good here. I was just trying to make sure the place where I was getting my information is something that I'm comfortable with, and I like Healthline. Diamine oxidase is a digestive enzyme produced in your kidneys, thymus, and the intestinal lining of your digestive tract. Its primary function is to break down the excess histamine in your body. Histamine is a naturally occurring compound that helps regulate specific functions of your digestive, nervous, and immune system. If you've ever experienced an allergic reaction, you're probably familiar with the common symptoms associated with elevated histamine levels, such as nasal congestion, itchy skin, headaches, sneezing. You may also ingest histamine through your diet. It naturally occurs in certain foods, especially those that are aged, cured, fermented, wine, pickles, and smoked meats. DAO keeps histamine levels in a healthy range to avoid uncomfortable histamine-induced symptoms. DAO deficiency and histamine intolerance. Histamine intolerance is a medical condition that occurs as a result of elevated histamine levels. One of the suspected causes of histamine intolerance is DAO deficiency. When your DAO levels are too low, it's difficult for your body to efficiently metabolize and excrete excess histamine. As a result, histamine levels rise, leading to the various physical symptoms. Symptoms of histamine intolerance often resemble those of an allergic reaction. They can range from mild to severe and include nasal congestion, headaches, itchy skin, rashes, hives, sneezing, asthma, difficulty breathing, irregular heartbeat, diarrhea, stomachache, digestive distress, nausea, vomiting, low blood pressure, hypotension. Various factors may contribute to diminished DAO activity and overproduction of histamine, including genetic mutations, alcohol use, certain medication, intestinal bacterial overgrowth, so SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Basically, some people believe if you don't eat enough types of fiber in foods like garlic and asparagus, things like that, to feed your colon, your large intestine, what will end up happening is bacteria will travel from one end of the digestive tract to the other, trying to find nutrients, and it will actually end up in the wrong part of the digestive tract, eating nutrients that's supposed to be feeding a different side of your digestive lining or your digestive tract. So when you have that bacterial overgrowth, it's an imbalance and it causes DAO downregulation, which you don't produce enough to rid your body of histamine. So this is one of the theories. Histamine intolerance can be difficult to diagnose as symptoms are ambiguous and resemble those of other medical conditions. This is one of the reasons why doctors believe that it's very hard to actually say that you understand 100% what histamine intolerance is. It is a thing. They think that they know the majority of it, but they still don't know everything about it. There's still no 100% testing theories or anything that's actually been done, or 100% testing that leads to good, honest, strict theories or opinions that are possible, strong truth. A lot of them, the majority of doctors don't even bring up histamine because they mimic so many other conditions. Therefore, if you think you're experiencing histamine intolerance, consult a qualified healthcare provider to thoroughly investigate the causes of your symptoms before attempting to diagnose or treat yourself. Summary: histamine intolerance can develop as a result of DAO deficiency and lead to various uncomfortable symptoms that often mimic an allergic reaction. Not only DAO deficiency, but actually eating too much histamine as well. Because a deficiency could be a deficiency in the face of normal diet. But if you're a person that likes to eat a lot of histamine high foods, what is this? Look at this quack, the durian rider of the group here. Durian rider was the same one that was sitting online with Bart K, who was it, Tristan, and was it Milk Jar? And when they put him on the spot and they asked him, would you consume meat if it was a life or death situation and you had to do it? And he was basically, well, duh. This is the same quack that parades a woman around on screen with her ass hanging out of her pants and treats her like she's a piece of trash. So I don't think that I would be talking about very much as an authoritative figure or giving people advice when you can't even figure out how to treat people correctly in real life. So here we are at the end of the segment, and probably some clown show with Durian Ryder's name. But again, probably arguably the biggest clown in the vegan realm, the family of piss drinkers. So we'll leave it at that, and if anybody has any questions, we can talk now. I'll give it about 30 seconds to a minute, and next time we pick up, we will get into histamine intolerances a little deeper, and we'll talk about some low histamine type foods and diets. And then we might expand onto the life and surreal role of a womanizer, Durian Ryder. Where are you guys at? Questions? Durian, you got something else ignorant to say? I'm all ears. Yeah, you're not going to get heart disease from a carnivore diet, especially if you're not pounding sugar along with natural fats in the body. There's the whole principle behind the reason why your body is built of nothing but fatty acids and amino acids. It has nothing to do with sugar, carbohydrates, or anything at all. Keep it carved, baby. Keep it carved. You're not going to get heart disease. You're not going to get cancer from carnivore, keto diet, or anything like that, as long as you keep your carbohydrate and sugar intake at a very minimum, if not zero. There's nothing that's been 100% proven that says that. It's this. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here. Carnivore deterioration is a thing as well. What a shit statement. Heart disease, another shit statement. When these people pop up and they say stuff like this, it boggles my mind for the simple fact that they've never shown one bit of evidence that shows proof, 100% proof that this. It's always causality or some kind of epidemiology bullshit that they want to talk about, instead of mechanistic data that says this is how it works. This is exactly what happens. Who gives a shit about all that other stuff? I want to see exactly how it works and how it happens. And if you cannot prove that, shut the fuck up. Bottom line. Right here. Cancer. Animal products do not cause cancer. I was in a movie theater, anecdotal, whatever it may be, and I'm trying to get to my cash out, and there's two doctors in front of me, and I guess they go out every Friday and Saturday night to either a bar or go see a movie together or something like that, wind down either every other weekend or something. And I heard them talking in front of me, and they were talking about some kind of cancer testing. And I asked them, I says, Doc, so is it true what they say about, how they do the glucose testing to find cancer? And the doctor turned around immediately and looked at me and said, that's one of the main ways that they actually do it. They will inject glucose into the body and try to watch and see under a dyed substance how it travels. And it will actually travel to the cancer formation and try to feed it. It's one of the ways that they help diagnose where the cancer is at. So if you're not eating a bunch of sugar and carbohydrates and shit like that along with your carnivore food, your steak, your fat, your protein, you're not going to have any issues with that stuff. You can process that stuff very, very efficiently. Vitamin D, vitamin K, keep up on bioavailable nutrients, stay active, and you'll be fine. But when you start pounding yourself with fructose and other sugars that are natural from a vegan diet, which we see daily, people are dropping like flies, you're not going to pull this shit off and tell me, oh yeah, a carnivore diet causes cancer. This guy's a quack. Quack. He's the definition. When you look up quack in the dictionary, his face is right next to it. Anyhow, that's the end of the broadcast today. Got ourselves all worked up at the end of this. There's no need for that. Isn't that right? No need for that. You gotta be nice to those vegans. You can't hurt their feelings. Well, guys, see you next time. That's it for tonight's broadcast. Be blessed. Take care. Have a good night.